Welcome, friends, to another Say It Loud podcast. I'm Matt Jones, your host. I'm actually sitting here recording this intro with Hoosier, who is our mascot for the podcast. He's looking all nice and cuddly there on the bed. We had a great episode. We brought in Kris Potrafka, who's CEO and founder of Music Firsthand. You can find it at musicfirsthand.live. It's an app that's going to help connect fans of music and businesses with the artists themselves. It'll be mutually beneficial for everybody. I really think what we do on the podcast pretty well is talk about the business side of music, because these guys all make a living by playing music, and it's important to them, and I think it's important to be honest about it. And Kris does a good job of sharing his platform for it. I mean, this dude is a first-class fan of music. He's been in technology all his life, and now he wants to use his time. He's putting everything he has into creating this Music Firsthand app and website and platform. So do yourself a favor, follow him on YouTube. He's doing a live web show there where comedians are interviewing local music artists. You can follow him on Facebook, Instagram, all those platforms. He knows what he's doing. He's very passionate about it. We had a great time with Kris. And one thing you need to know also about the podcast is right before we started recording, Clint was commenting on, there's a series of Polaroids on the wall in the recording room. And it has Polaroids of people from different shows and recording the podcast. And he made the point that it kind of looks creepy, almost like a serial killer hit list. And that's only important for you to know because it comes back again and again throughout the podcast. And who knows, maybe you could be the next Polaroid on the board. Enjoy. Kris fucking Potrafka.
You come in, you're done, kid.
Is that Stubbs?
Too damn hot here, I think.
Yeah. You're like, hey, have you seen our wall here? And then they're like, oh yeah, there's a picture of me. And you're like, exactly. I'm like, why did you do that?
Just lay plastic down on the floor.
Yeah. It's just a series of it'd be tough to explain a series of Polaroids on your wall if like somehow all these people weirdly died, like a Stranger Things thing.
Yeah.
Somebody comes in, it's like, what? I don't even know.
There's exits through these people.
Yeah.
Just don't turn the light on. That's the key.
Right. Yeah. Good. Clint is back. We can start a new podcast now. Clint is here.
Clint's here.
Woo! Yeah. Woo! It's full band today. Full Fair City Fire action. And we've got a guest for episode number 25, Kristopher Potrafka.
Kristopher.
Sorry, that's like the worst like wrestler nickname ever. Just the expansion of your regular.
Better than Sydney's.
Sydney's? What was hers? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're rolling.
I know we're rolling.
We're rolling.
We're going.
Just jump right in here.
Yeah.
Potrafka.
Potrafka, yeah. Kris
Potrafka off, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
Well, welcome, Kris. I think you've probably been mentioned on the podcast a bunch of times, I think, in passing regarding shows and, gigs here and there. And everybody, I think we always go by Kris. Yeah, Kris. We always say it.
Sydney Wright podcast.
And it used to be Let's Bevy, but now we're at Music Firsthand. So that's where people can know you from, musicfirsthand.live, right?
That is correct.
Where did that one come from?
You got it.
Live.
And we started with Blooming Artists, which I really liked. That was the original name, which
before Let's Bevy.
Yeah, which I really liked, and because that really embodies what we're trying to do, which is really help artists and to focus on the musicians and the artists get started, and to help those emerging artists. Unfortunately, that didn't resonate as much as we'd like, and we know we need something that was going to be interesting or intriguing for folks in all our branding. And Let's Bevy, then Bevy is a tribe or a flock. And then it's like we went too clever and thought, well, let's Bevy, let's get our tribe together.
Oh.
Yeah. And so usually after I start to tell people, they're like, oh, that's kind of cool.
I thought it was like an abbreviation for beverage or something.
Exactly. We get a lot of that,
Okay.
those kind of questions. So that's when we realized, okay, I'm going to have to spend a ton of money marketing to explain to people what this means.
Yeah.
Right? It's just too much.
Yeah.
So then we did a bunch of work and a bunch of focus groups, got some feedback, and said, really, it's about experiencing music firsthand. And that's how we landed on that. It's really about up close and meeting the artist and seeing them in a more intimate environment, or at least in a way that you really connect with them.
Okay, and I want to let you describe it, but just to clarify what Music Firsthand is, it's in beta right now, the app, and it's connecting bands to just actually coming to somebody's house or their own party or for some event they want to do, right?
Yeah, we do a lot of work with businesses that are not music destinations.
Right.
So I'd say it's there to help those individuals and businesses that don't have a full-time booker. That's really probably not the place for our technology or my services today, because we've done over 75 matches in the last 18 months or so. So I've learned a lot. I've done a lot of things wrong, and we think we're starting to get it right. But it's really about the matching process. So it's like a dating site. So once it matches, and artists can actually get matches and find businesses in the area that match their music style, and then not just matches on their music, but also we ask questions like, is your brand or your band more mischievous or more well behaved? Are you guys more conservative or more liberal? Are you more focused on original music or covers? So we ask a lot of these questions. They're like a dating site, and then we show them the matches, and then you can book right there on the app.
So 2 questions for Fair City Fire. Number 1, are you more mischievous or not? And what's the most mischievous thing you've done?
I could probably answer that.
I feel like we should let Joe answer this one.
Yeah, Joe, take it away.
Joe, are you mischievous?
I think were you thinking of the same mischievous thing?
Probably.
I don't know if we are.
It's the tell-all interview.
Define mischievous.
Yeah, I'd say pretty mischievous for us.
Pretty mischievous. All right.
Brett stuck his ass out of a van one time. Is that the story we were all thinking about?
I just saw Brett's ass in the bathroom.
But we can talk about it.
Brett delivered some.
We can talk about it.
Highway justice one time, just real short. Guys were in the riding in the shoulder lane. That's not something you're supposed to do when you're in traffic in the middle of Kentucky. And we were the only ones that could really do something about it. And so we got into the shoulder lane. And when that wasn't enough, Brett swung open the door and put his rear end.
Like a tour van, right? Like a sliding door?
Yeah, not even a sliding door. It was like a
swing.
It was French doors. It was French doors to Brett's ass.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
like,
just
was that the closest he ever felt to Point Break? Like doing something like that?
So I could imagine like when you're driving in the grass along the highway, you can't help but notice on the left side of you like a door swing open, so you have to look, and just bam, that's not what you want to see.
No.
Just hope you're wearing your sunglasses.
One guy in a Prius got real upset.
bright.
He ruined his day. He was real mad.
So this sounds like
so
the type
mad.
of band that you would like to book.
Yes,
Yeah.
please
Find us.
contact
So if that,
Kristopher Potrafka
if you consider that mischievous,
That doesn't sell us. I don't know.
I don't know that's mischievous. I think I need one option. It's sort of like more ass or less ass.
Yeah.
How much ass do you want?
Yeah.
but actually,
much ass.
Brian and Brett and Joe, to some extent, I mean, you've known each other for a long time, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, through all the Let's Baby days, and you've actually been matched before, right?
Yeah,
As a
absolutely.
duo?
Yeah.
Yep.
Even I guess it wasn't a match with the trio, but we did an event with you as a trio
Yes.
in your backyard when it was.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we brought you guys in for one of our own branded events.
Yes.
And then we've matched the Brian Wolf duo for a house show, and then we've done Bella and the Beast
Bella and the
for
Beast
a
too,
large
that's right.
corporate event too, which was good.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Very cool.
And not like specifically to talk about it, but just so people understand. I mean, the bands stand to make money in these, so it's like ideally,
Yeah.
right? You're
I mean,
matching up with what your
Yes.
value is, or what you think that is,
From-
for what somebody wants. So it's mutually beneficial for everybody involved.
Yeah, and I really try hard to go to the band and say, what's your rate for this, or what do you want to charge for this? And some bands really know their rate. Like, Brian knows the rate. Like, here's the minimum like we're going to take for this type of event. But then there's other artists who really don't know, and that's okay. And I kind of see my role, at least at this point, is trying to help them understand what their rate should be. Because a lot of times the host will tell me, here's my budget, especially businesses where they've got a lot of money, a big business, not the cafes, they don't, but like a large corporate, they'll be like, we got all this money. So I often will try to come in a little bit below where their max budget is, and then higher than what the band would take. So it's this sweet spot. But in all our cases, unless it's a benefit show, they should be making money.
So wait, are you actually like helping some of these bands negotiate with or is that just early on, or?
And still today.
But how do you see that growing, like if it's just through the app, if it's all of a sudden starts to become just new users starting to book bands.
Yeah,
I guess you have to figure out what the rates could be. Huh?
I don't know how I'll scale, but at least when it starts, the bands are gonna have to figure that out.
Right.
And so there in the app, they would set their rate, and they would say, "Here's my minimum rate." Now we've built into the app multipliers for corporate, for weddings. I think there was one other one. These things that I've learned, there's more work and there's more pressure in those environments than there are, let's say, at a casual house show. Right? We're playing on 6th Street, the pretty low preparation in terms of you have to learn new songs. There's just less. If something goes wrong, it's okay. So we've added multipliers there, and I think what we'll do when we launch the app is I will probably offer up my services to contact me if you want some recommendation on what to put in there. It won't scale, but my hope is we help bands figure that out.
Well, you might be able to, as you book more events, have like a suggested price based on what past events that were similar got. So at least people know like ground level to aim for.
That's a great idea, and we have on the roadmap, similar to like an Airbnb, where we can say, hey, in the area, bands such as yourself that have been playing for this long, they're in this genre, are getting paid in this range, right? So we recommend
That's cool.
it.
That's really cool.
It's gonna take more money to get there. It won't be out there initial.
Because that information is surprisingly hard to find. I've looked for it before, because just so many artists develop different ideas of what they expect and what they think is normal, and we're really bad with communicating with each other, and we don't really and besides your people you become friends with, you don't really know what other people are getting paid and what's normal and what not, because there's also just a large variation too.
Yeah.
There's also kind of a professional courtesy to not share what places are paying you.
True.
I mean, so
that's
there's got to be
that's a big part of it. Yeah,
there's
that's why I
gotta
said
be like a
only
trust
your
thing.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause you got to trust the person if you're going to tell them what they're the certain venues paying you or whatever,
'cause
to
someone
not
could-
run and be like,
Yeah.
they're getting paid this amount. Like it's happened before.
Because there's a lot of factors that
fun.
are involved with that pay, especially when you're a band booking your own shows, and it depends on ticket sales and things like that, and what the venue has become accustomed to you personally doing.
That's tough to find in Austin too, just being that it's an oversaturated market. So getting paid in Austin is very difficult, and it's tough. So having your app, the few shows that we've played have been really successful, and so that's nice. And we, over time you kind of figure out where to go and who has money and who will pay and stuff. But in a market like Austin, it's so tough because there's always someone out there willing to do it for a lot less than you will, and a lot of times you'll lose gigs that way too.
Well, that's what. Well, I think bridging off of that and back to the app, one of the recurring themes, so you don't have to get into it too much again, is artists in Austin, or artists in general, like not knowing how much they're worth, number one. But then, on that app, is there going to be, how do you differentiate being a band that's been playing together for years and has done big gigs to let them know that okay, these guys charge more, but they're definitely worth it. You're getting a good product. How do you, is that another thing where you're going to advocate for artists, or how does that get worked out?
Yeah, because it's funny, from what I see is that there's less of a difference, less of a gap between some of the artists that are just starting out, maybe don't have an album out. There's less of a gap than I would have expected from a band that's been playing for a long time today. Okay. Yeah, but I think there should be.
Do you mean like a talent gap or
pay wise?
Pay, okay.
And I think some of that is because you've got a venue, and I'm not saying let's for what I'm working, it's like a cafe or a winery, using those as an example, where they've just got a set budget. That's the max I want to pay. So it creates, unfortunately, just that's what equalizes all those bands, even though they really are not equal in terms of talent. But it does if you want to pay there. So I would like to see at least my app allow the band to present themselves in a better way by showing this is why we're the better fit, but it does cost more because we're going to do a better job of connecting with your customers or whoever's there, your guests at this show, so to justify that higher pay. So I would rather go up in terms of the pay for the artist than this race to the bottom is what it feels like every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's an awesome thing, right? This is all layers of conversations we've had before, but the idea that there's so many people. Well, number one, the band. So you're saying about, Clint was saying the idea of talent from bottom to top, or where the different. And I think there's a lot of really talented bands in Austin right now, and I don't think a lot of people are getting to see them because you have a lot of people that don't want to pay $5 to go pay cover to go to see a band. It's like they'll pay $5 in late fees on a red box,
that's
but they won't go
side
pay.
Effect of the flooded market
Right.
too, though. Yeah.
Mhm.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, because I think a lot of people just see bands so many places, but there is a different caliber and a different experience, obviously, with every band, but you're so inundated with live music here, which is great, and it gives you a lot of opportunities for a bunch of gigs, but at the same time, it's everywhere,
You can just
so
go.
you
You go to a
find a way
grocery
to
store.
stand out or make it different or more personal, which I think music firsthand helps make it
That's what I was
more
thinking.
personal,
Right.
which is definitely a selling point for sure.
Yeah, I think the thing that I've seen in talking to a lot of hosts and potential hosts of live music, whether it's a business or individual, is that the folks that I work with are usually not in the industry. They're less educated. They don't know. They appreciate it, but they don't have the time, or they just don't have the resources. So they're looking for a third party to reassure them.
Right.
So when I can go in and say, no, really, Fair City Fire is really worth this amount, if they're kind of like hesitating at all, they're more likely to trust me as a third party saying, no, really, they're really that good. I'll put my reputation on the line, than it is for Fair City Fire to go in there and say, hey, we want this rate.
Mhm.
It's that third party in there. And so I hope the way we've designed it is that we provide that reassurance, which ends up being, translates into more money for the bands. But it'll take some time. It's not going to come out that way in the beginning.
If I remember right, with the kind of the app that you showed us, like not the one that, I guess, the beta app, there's a section that you can go back and look at the history of each band. Am I correct with that? Like past events they've played, comments from
Like a review thing?
yeah, comments from previous hosts and stuff. That's part of it as well, right?
Yeah, there will be. And it won't be right in this initial beta. But yes, you've seen the prototype, and that's right.
Yeah.
So it will have the history of the reviews, just like HomeAway or Verbo or Airbnb, one of those, you'll be able to see. And we've categorized it into different categories that I think are more fair and honest for the band, similar to like an Airbnb. So it's not just like a flat 5 stars.
Which is
So it
really
can be all
nice
over the
too.
place.
Is on the flip side of that, you allow the artist to do the same for the host.
That's
which
right.
is really cool feature. You don't really see that too often. Where
It's a great thing, but I think it can be scary for artistic types just because a lot of things are open to opinion, or somebody might have came in with expectations, but so I think, like you were saying, it's important to make it very maybe professionalism based more than focusing on creative aspects.
Yes, I agree. That's where, because a lot of the hosts, what they're looking for is, did this band show up on time, right? Were they prepared? Did they treat my guests with respect, right? Did they clean up like afterwards and pick up everything up with their set? Did they follow the timeline they said they were going to? And then there's the question of, and was the band any good, right? That's one small part of it. So that I do hope it rewards these bands that are professional and prepared, more so than the bands that might show up. They could be great, but just sloppy, or they get drunk, or they are late. Because I can't have that on those kind of bands on the app. It looks bad on us.
Yeah, of course.
I wonder, have you thought of that? Is there like a 3 strikes policy? Did you put them into tiers yet? Anything like that?
Not yet, but that is definitely, we've
yeah.
definitely talked about the thick of 3
Yeah.
strikes.
Yeah.
And the vacation rental homes do the same thing. When you get like 3 strikes against you as like a person who's renting or whatever. Yeah, they pull you off for a while.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
We already have 1 strike with a story about the Highway Justice Center.
Yeah, Highway
Yeah.
Justice.
1 strike for ass.
It was for the
Yeah.
better of man. That was the whole reason we
That was
did
worth the strike.
It was more like a ball. It was more
We're
like
doing-
2 balls, probably.
Just the lower half.
Just wait till I get on the
Yes.
road with you guys.
Nice.
So how does I've talked to you before, Chris, and I know you come from the tech side, but how does a nerdy guy develop this love for like local Austin music? I mean, because that's what I was getting at too with the supporting, $5. Like you want to bring bands and people together.
Just call them
You know?
You just called him a nerd. I love it.
I mean, he's got to be, right?
We're all
I mean, the way
We're all nerds.
Yeah.
Everyone in this
You're
room
in
is
a
nerd.
company of
Yeah.
all
this
nerds.
dude works so much. Like you got to be nerdy about it to like really like sit there and like get into the programming, get into like making his own internet show now for this brand.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like
You're
nerdy about this for sure.
It's like weird science in my office at home.
So how do you go from being in the tech industry, moving around the country for that, into being here and being like a patron and a promoter of the arts?
Yeah, well, and I've done tech and I've done media and entertainment. It was more my background, but what I did was business operations, and I've done HR and organizational development and change management. I was the chief of staff at iHeartMedia for a while, to their CEO. So I was able to see the insides of the business and how the business is run, and more from the strategy side of it. But it was really the passion that I learned from seeing a lot of private shows, being at iHeartMedia. We get to see a lot of these really great shows. Nice. And that kind of created the bug for me. And that's when I thought there are these artists that are just as loved on a local level. And then as I started looking at, well, how would I find Fair City Fire? How would I book them for a show? And as I looked around at the other alternatives that are out there today, they just were I was unimpressed. They just didn't do it for me. We've tried, actually, when my wife and I got married about a year and a half ago, we tried using a couple of them, and it failed. Like, we literally had to call the bands outside of the platform because it was like very 2005 and it didn't work. And so that became more passion for me. And then, the other side of the personal story too is that I have an older brother that I was a comedian and worked forever to try to get started on that, and spent 30, 40 years trying to build up that career. And I saw his struggles as a performer, trying to get shows and try to travel to comedy shows, and just how difficult it is. And we would talk, and he'd say, man, I have fans out there, but if I could just find a much easier, simpler, efficient, cost-effective way to connect with them, they would probably book me for private shows, but I can't just email them, because that's awkward, especially at the time he was doing it. So that became kind of a personal passion as well, to help out the artists. So that's how I went from being a nerd to being super cool like I am today.
Yeah.
Poof. Magic.
Bam.
Yeah. Dude, Kris could totally beat me up, by the way, if you don't know what he looks like.
I'm going to end up on
You're lacking the visual aspect.
To end up on this wall in here of Polaroids.
Yeah, with a big red X.
Like a serial killer room in here. Yes.
Yeah. You look like if they were going to, I'm sure you get this, but you look like the Lex Luthor that could actually beat up Superman, I think.
Yes.
Shaved
That
head,
was
but you're
the original
big.
Lex Luthor. I think he was tougher than they
Yeah, but he had to
portrayed him later on.
He had to use robot stuff.
Yeah,
but I feel like,
of course.
He probably has robot stuff. Let's not go there.
That's true. I was kind of thinking more along the lines of Dr. Evil, but yeah.
Dr. Evil?
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
I could.
I wouldn't be surprised he's got one of those secret buttons in his garage,
Yes.
the lair.
To
the lair.
That's awesome.
The sharks. Yes. With the lasers on their freaking heads.
Brett and I were spying on your history on the internet, and noticed that you had made a
scary.
You had gone through. Well, Brett got excited. Why don't you ask him?
Yeah.
About his stop? Yeah.
Oh, Muncie, Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what were you
that's
doing
right.
there?
What were you doing in that shithole?
Yeah. Man, I know, right?
I went to school there. I went to school there for like a year and a half.
That is like.
And besides the campus. So I figured, I was like, it had to be school related.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was school there, but it's funny because that really is at one point. I think that's where the all of the major CPG companies used to do all their testing, because it literally was the most average town in the United States.
Oh man, it's
the most boring average town. Like
warehouse. Like if you're as soon as you step off campus, that's where they shot Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, there you go.
There's just nothing out there. It's just, it stinks.
The ball.
Funny.
Yeah, the Ball Jars, because of Ball State University. So I did grad school there. Yeah.
Okay.
So I did my master's in psychology there a while back, and that's why I was in Muncie, Indiana.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What years were those? Do you remember?
Yeah. When was
Easy,
I there?
Brett.
Was Bonzi was Bonzi Wells playing?
Funny story. Yeah, I was there from 96 to 99,
Okay.
and I actually played against Bonzi Wells in a pickup game, just because I played a lot of basketball then too, and played with him. I don't know what it was. Obviously, it was out of season or off season, and it was a pickup game on probably a weekend, and And we followed basketball pretty closely. Bonzi was playing, so yeah, he was a stud. And he just comes in the gym, and there's not a lot of people in there, and we're all playing. And he decides to do a pickup game, and so I guarded him.
I guess you would if you're.
Yeah. Everybody was just like, oh, great. Like it's kind of like right. It's like the rock star comes like, oh, ruin
shows
it.
up and let me do a solo, and
Yeah,
you're
you mind if I borrow your guitar, Clint?
Thank you. Exactly. We're translating that for the musician audience, because that's that's exactly what it was like. You're just like, okay, but no, I guarded him for a while, and I'll never forget like the end, like laying on my back, like out of breath, like my heart was going to come out of my chest because it was lightning quick. So
Yeah, Bonzi Wells, man.
It's my highlight of being in Muncie, by the way.
Yeah, that's probably that's a great highlight, really.
That's pretty good.
That's way better than any highlight that I ever had.
What do you got? What's your best thing that you remember about Muncie?
Indiana.
So I used to throw these house parties in Muncie, but because there's no bars in Muncie, right? There's like 3 bars.
Not a lot, yeah.
Yeah, there's not a bar scene. It's not like, hey, let's go down the strip and party.
Right.
So it's house party place. But I'd throw these parties like once a semester, and I had a lot through my older brother. His love for hip hop. We had a lot of friends that were in the spinning records and rapping and all this stuff. So I'd have them come up to the party. We'd throw these huge like 6 keggers. And I remember this one year, I won't say who it is, but a family. We're getting real. Someone wanted to sell nitrous oxide in my basement during
I remember
a
that
party.
was big at one point.
Yeah, and I wasn't in on it, but I was like, whatever. I mean, sure. And so in the basement, they had like this 100-pound nitrous oxide tank, and if you're familiar with like Midwest and East Coast basements, there's no windows typically. It's just a cave. You know what I mean? There's no.
There could actually be dirt on the wall.
Sometimes there's dirt on the wall. Like there's no it doesn't breathe really well. Anyways, someone tried to. These people came into the party. It was like a group of fraternity kids with their shirts off, flexing, looking tough and stuff.
Classic Muncie.
And they said that they had a
Strike
gun.
number 3.
One of them was like, "We're stealing the tank. We've got a gun." And they didn't know that I knew like 75% of the people that were living there or that were partying there, and as they're stealing the tank and walking it up, I had to stop everyone. I was like, guys, no, wait until they get outside. I don't fuck up my house. Just wait until they get outside. And as soon as they stepped out the front door, it was just a mad out.
Jumped.
It was like a 30-on-30 brawl of just chaos. I had a lot of football buddies, and they were like just big muscle heads. One of my buddies, Rob, I won't say his last name, but threw this dude's head through a garage door, through my neighbor's garage door. He literally picked up the dude and threw
Statute of
his head through the
limitations
garage door.
over on that.
And I wanted to kind of help out, but I'm not a fighter. So I noticed the tank was laying on the ground. And so I run over and grab one side of the tank. And it's, it's 100+ pound tank, and it's long, it's about 6 feet long. And so I'm grabbing one side, and I'm just kind of looking around, hoping that someone on my team grabs the other end, And a buddy does, and as we're picking up and trying to run through this crowd of people, there's cops coming out of like all directions.
Carrying the battle flag.
This is like Animal House.
My brother happened to be in town.
Private Ryan.
My older brother Aaron happened to be in town, and he was getting like a 7th keg for the party. And as they rolled back, he saw everyone going on, and he came flying out and was throwing lead blocks through the crowd so we could like snake through this crowd with this tank. Got inside, shut the door. Everyone had left. Cops banging on the door, and it was a fun night.
Is
yeah.
this the same quiet, boring
And then-
town we were just talking about?
It is, yeah. Well, that's like outside of the college, there's nothing.
Oh
like
my
the
God.
town is nothing.
So no, you don't have a
That's-
story about Muncie, I guess.
But no,
But we do share a common.
That's one of
we used to go to Indianapolis a lot. That's what we would do a lot of times. The weekends is go down there, and so we do share at least a favorite spot there. I think it was the Slippery Noodle that you guys play there. We used to go there all the time. That's where we went down there. I know you guys play there when you go through Indianapolis. That's a great bar.
Love
great-
that place.
great bar,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just old history.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Slippery
shout
Noodle.
out to the Slippery Noodle.
Yeah.
Do they serve food?
They do.
They sure
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
They do
I
serve
mean, the
food.
Ooh,
name
girl.
suggests so I didn't know if
They
it
sure
They
do.
serve food. Yeah,
Should
they
we tell
do.
that story, the Ooh Girl thing, or is that?
Oh, the sure. Yeah.
So like, yeah, it was like the end of the night. We get like free food or whatever at that place, and so we're like, we just played for like 4 hours at this, and just we're all kind of drunk, you know, whatever. And they're like, they take our food orders, and this big guy, brings it out, and like, what was it? Joe's just like,
Well, the dude was probably he was a late middle-aged man.
Yeah.
Had been working in probably the bar scene his entire life.
Yeah. Always probably been received as like, "What's up, dude?"
Yeah.
Or "Hey, man," or
Yeah.
you know, something else that shows that his gender's a man.
His name was, Jim or something, something classic, just name. But yeah, we're like, I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
He just came in and he was like, "Hey guys, got your food." And my first instinct was excited, so I was just like, "Ooh, girl!" And like, he just put everything on the table and didn't really say nothing a whole lot. Kind of looked up and was just like, "Oh."
He was like, man.
Kind of walked off.
"Ooh, girl."
Yeah. Ooh, girl.
You guys are not coming back.
I was
Yeah.
real excited.
That's an exciting reaction.
Was that the last
Was
time you
it-
played the slippery doodle?
Yeah.
It was actually.
I mean,
yeah.
it was a great
He's like,
buffalo
"I'm not
chicken
a girl."
sandwich. So.
Yeah, it was
he
good.
didn't.
Yeah.
It was good chicken sandwich.
I'm no girl.
I'm not a girl.
I'm a man.
He said that?
But
No.
the cool
Oh.
thing is, the cool thing
I
about-
imagine he said that in his
In
head,
his-
though.
in his head.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cool thing about the slippery noodle is that it was part of the Underground Railroad, and there are still bullet holes from whenever what's his name? Johnny Depp played him in a movie. Dillinger
Oh,
John
yeah.
Dillinger.
John Dillinger, yeah.
went in, and he has his bullet holes still there where he did practice. And now you know with Joe.
Yep.
Perfect.
good.
Good.
Boom.
That's
Just
great.
spit it in there.
I was waiting for that.
Don't try to get your own spin-off segment.
Oh,
no, he has it.
it's-
He already has
oh,
it.
it's a thing
That's-
already?
You've been-
That's the biggest development
Yeah.
since you've missed
You've
the
been a
last
part of
few
it.
episodes.
Okay.
Clint.
All right.
The other one
now
is,
you know with Joe.
The other segment is Clint's not here. That's the segment.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm ruining that one.
Usually,
Maybe next episode. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I got to miss the next
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
actually. So, or leave early. That'd be a great time.
There you go. Yeah.
Come in the
I
last
don't
5
know.
minutes and be like, and this has been Clint's not here.
Well, it's funny. I think didn't we do that with Jackie Venson when she was on? Like you were here for half of it.
Yeah.
Like, you just didn't say anything except you said one
I-
thing and then left. You were like,
I gotta go.
I'm like, well, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, hi.
Yeah. Hello. Goodbye. What you're also nerdy about, Kris, which I appreciate, is like you're not a faker about this live. Like you're out at a lot of shows. I mean, you go to more shows than I would
Yes.
say most people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure part of it is like going out to check out artists and seeing them play in the venues, but you really seem to. I mean, I've seen you at shows where there's like 4 people there,
Yeah.
and you were there just to be at the show.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife would agree. She reminds me of that. She's great, and I'm a very introverted person, so for me, it's a little bit more. I got to kind of work myself up a little bit, right? Like once I get comfortable doing my nerd stuff, I'm good nerding out for a while. But then I know I do want to go out and see shows. But if I say to Claudia, like, Claudia, we're gonna go see the show, and usually she doesn't pay as much attention, obviously, as I do. I'll say, we're going to see a show tonight. And she'll always hesitate at first, but then she can't help herself because she's so extroverted. She's like, okay, I'm going to go, right? It's rare for her not to go. But then we get to like Friday and she reminds me, like, we've been to a show every night this week. We're on like 6-7 nights in a row. We got to take a break at least at one point. So that's when usually I'm like, well, there's a 6 o'clock show. So let's go catch the 6. We're home by 9.
It's free, right? It's like usually free happy hour show.
But it started out early on. There was just a lot more anxiety for me to go to meet bands and just get to know them, right? And even actually how I got into, I guess, found an artist that was very friendly and trusted me, which is hard to earn trust in this business, because especially if I'm kind of more the technology guy, there is, I'm already starting several steps back when I'm talking to a band, right? And I get that. But then I talked to Kris Strand at South by a year and a half ago or so. And Kris is obviously, he's a good judge of character, and just said, yeah, we know that we think you're trying to do the right thing. Let me introduce you to Brian and Brett. And then from there, it just kind of kept opening doors. And so early on, it was really truly to build trust and going, I need to go out, show these bands I support them, I'm sincere, and go to these late shows. And it was just to earn trust. But the funny thing is now, I do less of trying to learn about new bands than I should be and meeting new bands. I now have like got a group of bands and the folks that have signed up with us that I really like.
Yeah.
And now it's the opposite. I'm compelled because I really want to go see these bands play, and I probably should be going out and seeing some new bands, but I don't as much now. I just love going to see them play. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's 5-6 nights a week.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. And I always pay the door cover. By the way, you should always pay. Never walk away from that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you a little bit about that, because I was pretty curious about that. How do you approach breaking down that wall? Because artists, to kind of go into that a little bit more, like, there's a lot of people out there trying to screw artists, all the time. Like, this happens nonstop. I mean, so you got to kind of find the people that you trust and you like, and you keep working with them. But it's like, as somebody on the other side of things, how. And you're one of us in a way, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like you're starting a business and trying to support musicians, and that's great. But like you're not an artist yourself, so it's like how do you break that barrier? How do you break that that first I don't trust you thing?
Yeah.
Is that what it was for you, Brian?
No, we had some burritos. That worked for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all you need to do is give me
Right.
burritos,
Yeah.
and I trust you forever.
It reminds me too of the book, Martin Atkins' book, like Welcome to the Music Business. You're fucked.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a great book.
I gotta read that.
You've got to get this book because it's funny as hell, right?
FCC's gonna shut us down.
We're screwed.
Fuck.
Shit, damn, fuck. George Carlin.
Yeah. Pissed something else. Poop.
There is a little bit of truth to the burrito story though, because it started out where offering just to buy coffees and buy food, buy lunch, and just be like, look, I'm willing to put my wallet out or my money on the table, and then I think if I can get 20 minutes with these musicians, they'll see I'm really sincere. So that's been a big part of it. I also think too, I have experience, which maybe unlike some of others that maybe in the tech space that are maybe younger, that don't have any experience in the music industry. It does help that I've got a great advisory board of former executives from large media companies. So those are all things that say, look, I'm serious about what I'm doing. But then I think it's like anything else. You got to build trust over time.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to go to their shows and you got to see them again, and you got to reach out to them and contact them. And that's been one of the parts that's been frustrating. The flip side of that though is when I do make all this effort and the bands still don't reciprocate, because I've had a handful of them where I'm just like, wow, I am trying to get you a show. I am trying to get you money, and you can't reply to my email. Like,
That'll happen.
yeah, you can't
You
give
don't
me
like
a
money?
chance. Yeah.
You don't
That's
like money?
people. That's people in general.
Yeah, that's
It's
there's
great.
turds
That's just business.
everywhere.
That's right.
Turds
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Turds.
Don't
Turds.
say turds. Don't
Yeah.
say
Some people are
turds.
just scared just to open up in general.
Yes.
On that level, it
Yeah.
seems.
Yeah. But yeah, so I just, for those folks, I just keep trying to earn their trust, kind of think at some point, that we'll get there. But
That's got to be a pain in the ass, though. I would imagine.
it's
Like
frustrating
that
when,
wall.
when you run into that, especially my wife and I have wiped out our entire savings on this. We put everything we own into it. So we literally are down to nothing at this point. Like, I'm out today, like trying to get a few consulting jobs just to help us get by and pay the bills. So that's been a major investment. And we finished our taxes recently for the business, and I think we've given, I think well over, just in terms of our own branded parties and events we've thrown, between paying the band or between paying to create an environment for the band to play, close to over $20,000, and just facilitated close to $30,000. We've done over 75 matches. So I'm like, that's a pretty good contribution to the music community here. So yeah, I think I get bitter when like somebody doesn't return my call, and I'm like, I have a job for, like, I have a well-paying show. So yeah.
It's a way we can both be successful and make money.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
So we're trying to put up the good fight.
Nice.
For sure. Yeah.
Is that how you? I mean, to piggyback off Brian's question, that's how you do it. I think, like, manage it and do those things, make those connections. But how do you, like, personally? Because you were saying you're, like, introverted. Like, how do you get yourself up to go to these shows? Like, if you know you're gonna see new people or new bands, like, do you, like, slap yourself in the face like, come on, you're Kris fucking Potrafka.
Yeah.
You can do this.
There is a little bit of that.
How do you get yourself pumped up for that?
No, that's true. It's a little bit like Fight Club.
Yeah, man.
But probably the one I was most nervous about, and she's still on my list of like booking for like even our own branded house concerts that we do. The most nervous I think I was approaching Carrie Rodriguez. It was because I'm just so impressed with her. I'm just really amazed by her singing and just the way she carries herself. And I was at South by, and you hang one. I learned like when's the right time to approach after they finish a show. Right, you got to be careful approaching them when they're trying to load up their equipment. You can see it's like you guys know fans come and talk to you all, and you're like, we got to get off the stage, right? Like give us a second. You're trying to be polite. But, I get there and it's like, okay, have a couple beers, like loosen up. Am I good? Like, okay, I got to talk to her. And then there's like the self-talk of like, Kris, you're about to invest everything you got into helping musicians. So you're doing this to help them, even if they are turned off at first. And Carrie right by far was the most nervous to talk to because I was just blown away by her performance. And then she gets off stage and she's walking by and I'm like really nervous. And I'm like, I do one of these like jumping in front of her while she's trying to walk to like the green room or whatever, and I'm like, hey Carrie, I'm Kris, really nice to meet you.
I've done that one before.
Total fan, boy over the whole thing, and she was like, okay, what do you? And I was like, I've got an app, and there's an app, and it's gonna be some music. Do you want to play with us? And we're gonna need a lot of music with you. Would that be cool? And it was like this awkward silence, and then she was like, I think I heard something about house shows in there. Yeah, I like house shows. I'm like, okay, here's my card. See ya. And that was like it was a disaster.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But she'll never forget that, more than likely.
I don't know. Yeah. So I keep waiting for the right opportunity to like reach back out and say, would you do a house show? And we'll pay you.
On that note, now that you're a little more experienced, do you have like a prepackaged like pitch that you come in with, or do you just try to start a conversation and get there naturally?
Yeah, now it's far easier. When I just have more confidence because I have guys like you backing me up. So now the pep talk is more like, I got bands like Fair City Fire that believe in what we're doing. And now I got numbers to back it up because now I usually walk up and say, hey, I'm very passionate about helping you out. And the first thing I say is, we've never taken $1 from artists. So if you like to play live shows and get paid, then just here's my card or get on our mailing list. And I can't guarantee it, but I take it very personal in my matching process to find the right show for you. It's usually enough where they go like, yeah, nothing to lose here for me. Here you go. So it's a little easier now.
I imagine that type of confidence goes a long way with communicating with people, especially strangers.
Yeah, it just takes that, like, you've got to have your fans. You guys do too, right? When you go on stage, I'm sure when you've got fans, even if they're not there in the room, you're like, no, we're good. Like, we know because we've had that. It's the same thing here. Mentally, you go, okay.
It comes with experience too. I mean, I think even if you played on a stage 100 times and every time was two people, still the 100th time is going to be way easier than the first time.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I went through it again when we launched the live streaming show. I was like nervous as hell those first, like, it was horrible hosting these, the first 2 or 3 that we did that I had to do, and was like starting kind of over again, that nervousness, but then the confidence now is built up because, I have conversations with people like, Brian who pull me aside and say like, dude, you got to at least co-host. You got to, just got to be there, hang in there, and keep doing it, man. You're really, you're doing better than you think. And I'm like, okay, all right, I got this. I'll do the next one. It's like you just need people telling you that.
I remember that talk. I don't remember where it was. Where was that? Where did we talk about that?
Burritos
was it a texting thing? Did they text you that?
Maybe, maybe it was texting. Yeah.
Positive reassurance.
But no, I really do feel that. I think you're good at it, and I think it's a good way to represent what you're doing. Gives a face to the company.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but it's not too different than I feel that. So that's why I'm always telling fans, and part of the reason I'm doing that show is we're trying to reach more casual fans who don't know how to approach bands or book them or aren't quite sure. We want to say, look, these bands are really approachable. Like, email them, they'll come do a show with you at your cafe or you're in your backyard. Like, it's really that easy. We're trying to get that message across. So I try to tell folks, like, go up and talk to bands after the show, go up and say hi, like, go up and encourage them afterwards, or send them an email, even just send them a note on Facebook, right? And say like, man, you guys are great. It goes a long way.
What's your, so you have the music firsthand, the live show, and I usually see it on Facebook. Like, that's where, I don't know if this is the best way to connect to it.
It is, yep.
Okay. But yeah, you're a host. I know you've had a couple comedian hosts.
Yep.
But you've done a lot of it yourself. So then, jumping from the idea of, being an introvert and just meeting people in public, how do you put yourself in front of a camera?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, it's funny, and at least being someone introvert, it's easier to get up and do that in a sense.
In front of a camera.
Yeah, it's easier to get up and do a speak, to get up and do a speech. It's easier to get up and speak in a large setting. It's harder, small talk, and rooms, and how do you start those conversations?
I 100% feel that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I'm the same way. I'm pretty introverted.
Yep.
But you get me on a stage. I've done that so many
Totally
times.
different.
It's just like I feel 100% comfortable.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where I'm like 100% myself.
Yep.
But trying to talk to somebody after the show, sometimes I'm pretty cool about it. Sometimes I'm just like really weird, really awkward. Just like I don't know.
I know. Yeah.
I don't know how to speak to people.
I can relate. I don't mean I
Yeah.
know. I don't think you're ever weird with me, but I can relate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell people to this day I'd much rather play. I have reverse stage fright. If I'm playing in front of 1,000 people, I won't at all be worried about playing. But if I'm playing to one person in a room, all I can think about is what that one person is thinking.
Yeah.
And so the smaller the crowd, the more awkward it is.
It's like jumping out of a plane at 30,000 feet versus jumping off a 30-foot tree or something. It's you can see the ground there. It's like, oh, that's way more scary now.
Yeah, there's more in those larger ones. You're just more anonymous in a sense, right? And
you can scan the crowd and you feel the collective energy and stuff, but you don't really have. It's harder to focus on one person and just be like, oh, their face looks like they're not enjoying this, and then you get all super sensitive.
Yeah, that's true.
What they're thinking.
Clint forgot to talk into the mic. That's what he gets.
Inexperience.
Being on the podcast.
His segment lives on.
Yeah.
The Clint's not here segment. That was the Clint's not here segment.
How's it going, guys?
He's in the upside down.
The live stream has been a lot of fun. You mentioned too, Matt, that we have the purpose of it. The format I wanted to be unique or new was, or not. Yeah, you guess unique and new, but there's tons of great. This is one of my favorite podcasts. My other favorite is there a cover? Johnny Gowdy's I listen to regularly. So those are at least the three I listen to regularly.
We have a listener.
Yes.
Yeah, if y'all, and that's anyway. So that's gonna be another side. But my intent is to bring comedians on the show because I really like showcasing comedians too. And I thought something different. I thought would be let's get these comedians who share a kindred bond with musicians as performers. And so we had Natalie Holmes on the first one, and now we got Becky Jo Neal. And my plan is to rotate another comedian in 4 to 6 weeks. I just thought that's a unique format. So
no, it makes more sense now that you put it like that about why you have comedians on the show and stuff because your brother and stuff. That makes more sense.
Yeah.
So it's kind of part of the company.
Yeah.
When we were playing, we met his brother.
Yeah,
remember that?
I think so.
Yeah.
At your
rehearsal. That's right, rehearsal dinner.
Rehearsal dinner. Yeah, we hung out. I remember that story now. I think we had about 3 to 9 beers deep. So it was
somewhere around there.
It was a little foggy at the time, but when you were talking about it, I definitely remember having that converation.
9 beers. You were only there for happy hour.
Six beer window.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Another reason to hire Fair City Fire. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll only drink 3 to 9 beers.
3 to 9
each,
guaranteed.
Per hour.
Yeah. But yeah, doing the show has been a lot of fun. Having the comedians on there is just meant to make it. It's really meant to be just almost goofy in a way, in a sense, and not be too serious. And what we're talking about. We try to throw in a few serious questions. And like I told the comedian, I'm kind of really there just to help facilitate, make sure we stay on time, and you can just be yourself and not worry about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're getting there.
People can, you save the live feeds on YouTube, right? A YouTube channel?
That's right.
Is it under Music Firsthand?
Yeah,
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, we edit it a little bit later. We don't do too much editing, but we really like the live. One, it creates a pretty big adrenaline rush, which is nice. And so that helps with the energy, but then we really encourage for people to question and comment online. And we've had a couple really good ones where we've got, I think at most we had 25 viewers actually watching the show during the show. I think the largest we had, which isn't bad for only 15 shows. That
Definitely.
was one,
That's
right?
great. Yeah.
And we really try hard to tag and recognize people who are friends of the band because we want to call them out like big supporters. We do that. We take questions. And it's all volunteers. It literally is Benjamin Allen Levy, one of the greats.
He's our boy.
Sound and video, and it's either my wife or we've had a couple other just volunteers and interns between Mario and Brenda, Maddie all jump in and run social the whole time. So it's a cool production. But my wife told me like she would love to, even if we didn't have the app in the business, she was like she would love to continue to do this on a weekly basis. And then we buy lunch and drinks or buy like dinner and drinks.
If you're careful, you're gonna end up with a string of pictures on your wall too. If you can keep that up.
I know, that's true.
Just do it and pretend. We'll tell them there's a camera.
Yeah. But it's a lot of fun because we make dinner and hang out afterwards too.
It is a cool
And
experience.
the dinner is quite delicious. I can say that.
It's got a good feel to it. The whole, from like the moment you get there until you leave.
Thanks.
It's got a really nice, comfortable. I was telling Brian and Matt, it was probably one of my favorite interviews we've done as far as just having a good time and all that stuff on playing and playing as well was pretty interesting. Sitting down playing was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
And
good.
Doing it kind of like an
do that a
acoustic.
lot?
No.
Even when you guys play duos?
No, we stand up the whole
Really?
time,
Yeah.
man.
Really?
Yeah.
I love sitting and playing.
Oh,
And not because I'm lazy. It's just like I feel like I'm better at guitar because
Yeah.
of the way my arm can reach. Like I can do things more comfortably.
But I think
Singing
is
is a little harder. Like
Yeah.
hitting the high notes and stuff is a little tougher with your constricted.
But
I
then
think we
no
just
one
do
would be able
it.
to see our dance moves.
Yeah, I
that's
think
the
that's
problem.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's
That's
a
a
good point.
huge part
There's
of the
a
show.
lot of
Huge part of the
lot
show.
of, you know.
That's true.
happy feet going around.
The Brett swirl.
Lately,
Brett
I've been pretty influenced by the Wild Adriatic bass player
Oh yeah.
because he had some real cool moves.
Oh man.
Good
Yeah,
lord,
he was moving.
Yeah.
That was
Lot of-
something else.
a lot of leg action.
Feet
It was
shuffling.
definitely inspiring for sure.
I thought it was interesting that on your last show. I think it was your last show, Minds of a Different Kind.
Yeah, 2 shows ago. But
Was that 2 shows ago?
Yeah, before the wheel rides.
I watched 2 of their songs and probably like 20
Yeah.
minutes of some of it. 'Cause it was really cool to see because I don't know if you know who they were, Brian, but they're like a hip hop group.
Yeah.
Which
I watched
was-
some of that episode.
yeah, it was really interesting to see that from that perspective.
Right.
That's not something you would normally see.
No,
You
great.
wouldn't really see like a hip hop group in a cafe setting
Yes.
or even the setting that you created at your place.
They even said that, because we did that from Cuvée. They let us host there. And they had said that was the first time they've ever done like their hip hop, like done, which is usually high energy, jumping around the stage,
Yeah.
like sitting down. So they were joking. This is like the rap version of acoustic. Like we're like,
It was really
It was
good.
cool.
And
Yeah, it was.
and you could tell that they've been a group or friends or something.
yeah,
The vibe and the flow between each person was really interesting. It was really cool.
yeah, just a good group. But yeah, that was fun. And when we try to keep up a good pace on it, like that's the thing, because it's different. It's live. There's no editing, so it's like we gotta move. The questions gotta be fast and go back to the music.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, we just can't edit it later and kind of cut out some of the like boring stuff.
In the spirit of live music, I don't know. I was interested in this today. You're the supporter of it. We all patron it and or perform it. I think it'd be fun to go around the room and just recall. It doesn't have to be the best or favorite, but a live concert moment that you've had in your life that still sticks with you for one reason or another.
Oh yeah.
Like
Cool.
still has some kind of impact, or you
That's great.
recollect
That's a
it
great
pretty
question.
quickly.
Yeah, what's there's a good book too related to that same question that you guys should check out. It's Bob Boylan from the NPR Tiny Desk series stuff. He has a book like How Music Changed My Life, and he talks kind of about that. It's a great book. He talks about all these different artists and their performances or a song. The song changed my life and how it did that. So it's powerful.
That's pretty cool.
So it's a good question. Yeah.
I start. I
Go
first?
for it, Joe.
All right. So recently I had another second concert come to this list, but if there was one I had to, oh man, this is hard. If there was one I had to say, I've always been like, oh man, I'll never forget that. It was the Tame Impala at ACL, in 2015 or 16 or something, but that was pretty amazing. It was daytime. It wasn't like a night. It wasn't like a crazy effects or anything, but they just played really well. And it just felt like it transported you somewhere else. And then my second one, I think, just added was we just saw recently Father John Misty at the Bass Concert Hall. and that was really good because he just got really into it, and he's a very good performer. He's a showman, and like whether he's getting really into it and he's bending all the way backwards and then like slamming down on the ground on his knees like right at the impact of a vocal part, or at one point he takes his acoustic guitar and the song's ramping up, he's playing it, he opens it acoustically, and then at one point it really pops off and he throws his acoustic guitar halfway across the stage and a stagehand comes out of nowhere and grabs it and then like the rest of the show keeps going and the band's
He would do
going,
that.
He's got his mic and he's throwing his hands in the air and he just gets really into it, and that was I
That's
think for
incredible.
performance sake I think it was one of the top ones too.
Did he close with Ideal Husband? Because that's what Strand was saying he closed with when he went to go see him at Red Rocks, and he said it was just insane.
I think so. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that's what the last one was. I can't remember,
Yeah.
but he did it. I know he did an encore, like a 3 or 4 song encore.
Cool. I was
That's
just
cool.
curious about that.
It was great. That was that.
Yeah.
Add that one to the list though.
Nice. All right, my next. Oh yeah. So I'll give a. I can't just think of just one. So I'm gonna give a few quick ones. Is that all right? Okay.
You can do anything you want.
You can edit. You're gonna edit out all
fucking
4.
Potrafka.
Potrafka off. My alter ego. You just edit all this out later. I'm gonna listen to it. I'm like, it's like I wasn't even on the show. It's just gonna be you guys. I would say, and this actually was a big inspiration even for the technology and the app. What I'm doing today was, this was back in like. When was this? 2000 or 2001. I was living out in Palo Alto. I had just moved out there to start this job, this nerd job, and
Yes.
and I'm a big I'm a big fan of Robbie Fulks, who's from Chicago area, and so I saw him play a lot in college. I also did grad school at University of Illinois, and he played in Champaign all the time. And I'm there, and I'm on his mailing list, and I get this note that says, "Hey, I'm doing this house show here in Palo Alto, so if there's, I guess, extra seats, email me and let me know." At the time, I never heard of a house show. That really wasn't common at all where I was at. Never heard of it. So it's like, this is weird. Okay, I'm going to go to some guy's house and watch the show. And it blew me away. I went in there and was like, I'm standing like 20 feet from, one of my favorite artists, like Robbie Fulks, doing this show. And then afterwards, I go up to him awkwardly and I'm like, "Robbie, you're the greatest. I love you, man." Those things. And then he was like, "Okay, you're awkward." And then I said, "I get a picture." And so he hands me his guitar and he says, "Here, you take the guitar." And then I sit down and he pretends to be the fan. And he's like looking at me like going, "Yeah, you're great." And I'm just smiling like it's his guitar in my lap. And it was like the coolest experience from like that. That just wouldn't happen in a live show.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's really cool.
Right, that he did that. And then the next night, I further embarrassed myself because he was playing his live show over at Berkeley. And I wish I could remember the bar now, but there's a song that he has, and there's this long, long pause, and then he hits the chorus really hard, right? So there's this real dramatic buildup. And I was, I'd had 3 to 9 beers somewhere in there, and and I was, I was in the back of the bar, right? And so I was just like in the bubble, man. I just talked to him the night before, so now we're him and our buddies, and they get to that long pause, and he goes longer than I would have thought, and I start screaming out the chorus, and I just like belt it out, right? And it's dead silent in there. Then I'm like belting it out, and it's enough that it's noticeable, and he's like, "Yeah, you got it." He like just kept going with the show. That's awesome. After I'd sung out the chorus, so that was
That's awesome.
it was great. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Cool, man.
Man,
Yeah.
this is getting tough. Yeah, that's good stuff.
It's my turn. What was the
Go
original
for it,
question?
Clint.
I already forgot. Just concert experiences.
Yeah, just something, maybe a live music experience that still sits with you.
I've been to a couple of great concerts recently, but I guess one of the coolest experiences, like as far as like a big concert I've been to, is some friends of mine. I was a Dispatch fan back in college. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Dispatch. They were like I think they were like still record sales wise the biggest independent band ever. So the biggest band that never signed to a major label. I don't think they even signed to any label. But yeah, they had a reunion show after we had known them for a while, and it was when I was in college, and we went to New York City, and they were doing a 3-night stand at Madison Square Garden. That's how big they had gotten. They hadn't been in a while, and they sold it out 3 nights in a row. And so we went to that, and they had their most popular song is "The General," and they had their old tour van from when they used to tour around when they were like not very well known.
Fred loves
and,
Dispatch.
And they all sang that song on top of their old tour van together, and literally, like I want to say every person in that building, so like all of Madison Square Garden, like sang the entire song, and like just to hear like thousands of people all like singing the same song was just like that was a powerful moment.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, goosebumps.
I've seen that video.
I think
watched that
when the crowd sings along is like that's been like a lot of powerful moments.
Yeah.
To tie that in, like recently I saw Cake for the first time, which is one of my favorite bands growing up, and I recently saw them in Dallas, and they did a couple of songs where they split up the crowd, and it was kind of cool because some of it is like he kind of turned them against each other, like those people hate you. Like if it was an angry song, they'd be like, you sing this, like you hate those people, and like, but just trying to like, build the thing, and then but then you start singing together and you don't feel that way, and then he brings it all together, like just being, I don't know.
Like Ice Cube set where he does the fuck you over there, He splits the crowd down the middle.
The other one was like
That's
sheeps
great.
go to heaven, goats go to hell.
Oh,
It's
dude, yeah.
That's good. Goats and sheeps and splitting us up, but also, like when you start singing together, you realize like none of that
it's
matters.
for fun. Yeah, it's like just having a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like it.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I think you made it up.
Yeah, prove it.
Proof it.
Mr. Wolf.
So, for my 21st birthday, my dad got us both tickets to see AC/DC at Giant Stadium. And it was so badass. Cool. Like, it was so cool. And, I mean, like, AC/DC is one of those bands that, like, when I was learning guitar, I learned so many of their riffs to try to, like, play rock and roll, So, like, this was... And I had never seen them before, but... my God, it was so good. Like, it was a sold-out crowd at Giant Stadium, so just huge, massive crowd. And, like, there's this moment where Angus Young, who I've just worshipped forever, just runs out and on that, like, catwalk thing that a lot of those, like, huge bands will have, that, like, he just runs out to basically the middle of the crowd. And there's this, like, he's playing a guitar solo, like, there's, like, no other sounds going on. Like, everybody else, like, stopped playing. It was just Angus Young running out, playing a solo. He goes into this, like, building kind of thing in the middle of the stadium, and then he somehow gets on the roof of it, and the roof of it starts, like, spinning and, like, raising up into the air. So, like, I'm pretty high up, and, like, I'm looking at Angus Young, like, eye level on this thing. He's super high up, and I can see just... a sea of like thousands and thousands of people behind him, and it's just him ripping a solo for like 5 minutes. And it was so awesome. And he's like doing the whole thing where he's like on the ground, like, with his legs going around in a circle, like just like in his little schoolboy outfit, you gotta love that shit.
The best.
It just got weird.
Yeah. It got
You
weird.
got a murder to wear that.
Yeah.
It's like,
He's got his own board too.
I mean, I guess the schoolboy outfit thing wasn't important.
There's no room
I
for
didn't
error,
have to say
when
that.
you wear the schoolboy outfit. I think is what they're getting at. It has to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's the only way to sell it.
Yeah, but God, that moment of seeing him just in his like full element, somebody I worship, just with all those people, just like worshiping him like I do. It was just this crazy moment in rock and roll that I'll never forget, for sure. And I'm sure they do that thing every concert, but it's like
the shared experience, having it with somebody else, right?
Yeah, especially
Seeing
that moment.
Awesomeness.
Yeah.
Seeing something awesome that not very many other people can do.
And
at that moment.
That's
like,
right.
it was cool that like, my dad showed me AC/DC. So it's just like to go there with him like right after my 21st birthday to celebrate. What a great way to do that, He knows me pretty well.
Yeah.
Sounds
Bruce.
like it.
Yeah. Bruce.
Yeah.
That's
Brett,
awesome. I actually have a dispatch one when I was
Wow.
I lit up when you said that. I was like, fuck, because no one really knows. I mean, a lot of people know who they are, But yeah,
If you guys
it
tell the
makes
same
sense,
story,
though.
it's gonna get weird.
We actually dressed up at like them for a Halloween show once.
Did you
Dressed
really?
up as the bands, and we're like, we already kind of look like Dispatch.
Dude, they're
But we like their music so much. This was in college.
so good. I think, and it makes sense because you're my age too. But they were huge because I always listen to hip hop until that was the first. Besides Dave Matthews was the first real band that I got really into, like really interested in, and really enjoyed their music. For the harmonies, some of their songs are pretty basic and simple, but I think that was why they were really good. But anyways, and I think it was 98, 99 school year, they were playing down in that was the big Napster years, like just ripping.
Yeah, they were pretty young then too. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't famous at all at that point. I had got a CD through a good friend's older brother who was just on the internet ripping music. But anyways, they're like, hey, let's go to Nashville and check them out. They're playing in Nashville. And it was one of the best weekends of my life as far as just all around music and just a good time with like some buddies. But yeah, we went to a bar and there was maybe 100 people there, maybe. Got to meet them and hang out with them after the show. Got a pictures taken with them.
Oh, man.
Oh, it was great.
That's cool.
I was geeking out over that. And I didn't play an instrument or anything at that time. I was just like really loved their music. And
Yeah.
kind of like connected me with some of my lifetime friends, that I still am just, diehard friends with. But yeah, I'll always remember that weekend. It was Nashville. It was a beautiful time. It was like fall. Oh, it was awesome. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And now Dispatch is famous.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
They're pretty famous. They came out of nowhere.
Matt Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very inspiring to hear those stories because you start to recall things, I think.
Yeah,
but
I got like 4 more since we started.
Yeah, no, it's like
I'll save you all.
what I think is like the best thing that makes a concert experience is like having one thing that couldn't be replicated, kind of. Because I always think that whatever you're doing in the world, whatever you're doing, like there's always somebody else around the world doing the same thing at the same time, just because the sheer number of people.
Yeah.
Like if you're like eating a peanut butter sandwich, or I don't know, I've been
Numbers are staggering.
or
on that.
recording a podcast with 6 people, or whatever.
That's probably actually still
telling
staggering.
telling stories about great concerts, or
Thousands of
something.
people are
There's always
recording
something.
podcasts
So
with
like,
6 people right now.
I like the moments where it's like there probably wasn't anybody else doing this, but maybe
There
was.
are 6 Chinese guys that look almost just like us doing this right now.
Yeah. Man, I hope so.
It's the Good Town Flame podcast. Something like that.
Dude.
This is good.
Oh,
This is
man.
good.
Yeah.
So what's your
Yeah.
what's your unique?
So
experience?
we Bonnaroo 2008.
Okay.
It was a great show. I went with a girlfriend at the time, and there was a lot of great moments. Like Kanye didn't show up to play at his 11 o'clock set. It was early on.
Sounds about
Because
right.
he didn't want to play against Eddie or Pearl Jam, so he showed up at like 3 in the morning and didn't tell anybody. Then only played for 20 minutes and then left. That was great.
Great moment.
Sounds like something a genius would do.
Yeah. Caught a pick from James Hetfield of Metallica.
Oh,
For real. Like he threw it
Cool.
and it hit my girlfriend in the forehead. And she was like, what? And she picked it up and I was like, cool. That's mine. I called it.
That's
And,
great.
I think on the 3rd day, it was a weekend, so you camped there at Bonnaroo, and so
Yeah.
we were out of weed. And like that, it makes Sunday tough, you're just hungover and like whatever. We were like, it was early days of Mastodon, so we were watching them like in this little tent. And there was her sitting there. I was like, God, I was like, I know that dude has weed there. This guy was like dressed like a wizard. So I was like, this dude definitely has
Probably
weed.
more than weed. But
So I
Yeah,
was
what
like-
gave that away?
So I was like,
Mr. Wizard?
I could probably take this 20. I was like, I'd ask him, but like you're like pretty, so why don't you go ask him if he has any weed for? We'll take anything for $20.
anything for 20.
Whatever. I don't care. It's like, okay, we'll take it. And she goes up to him. And she just like sits next to him, and she's like, Hey, do you have any? Like she didn't even know. I think she's like, Do you have any weed? It's weird to ask. He was like, yeah, and he just opens. He has like a Crown Royal bag on his hip, like a wizard bag, and he's just like, yeah, 20 here.
Jewels and
Just put your
rupees.
hand in and grab as much as you can. She did.
Where was that
20
bag?
bucks. Yeah, it was like, just put a hand in. She came back running, like she just found the pot of gold, like running. Like, I found it. This
my
is the
God.
one. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And
The
yeah.
wizard.
Yeah. It
The
was like-
wizard.
and it worked. Yeah. So
Great.
it was definitely the dirtiest weed I've ever. It was like It was pretty bad. Bad stuff.
Yeah.
But for $20 for a handful, it was worth the story. And Mastodon was great too.
Hey, so yeah.
Was that your concert
How was the
experience?
music?
You caught the pick.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
pick from.
I still have it. Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
like
If
the
you-
weed wizard thing, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
good.
pretty awesome.
I like that.
I've never ran into a
it's
weed
good
wizard.
I mean,
yet.
if legalization continues, the Weed Wizard could definitely be incorporated into somebody's live show.
Weed
I'm sure.
Wizard.
Oh, dude, that would be.
Weed
I-
wizard.
I would add that to the app.
You just pay for
Yeah.
I'd go to that show. I'd pay a $5
like
cover to
Weed
go to
Wizard?
that
Yeah.
show.
10 more
Weed
years.
Wizard.
10 more years till the Weed Wizard.
It
could
is
be
I,
a legal
the weed
reality.
wizard.
Like if you see him, you better catch him because he leaves really quickly. Like and yeah, you can get people to.
You're just
select
throwing
opt in,
joints
opt
out into the
Gotta
crowd.
tag him on Instagram, you
Yeah.
know.
I think that's going to be our little pop-up help feature.
Yeah.
You know, they got some little characters going to be like, I'm
Like a
the weed
Microsoft
wizard.
Word.
Are you
Yeah, yeah.
stuck? Can I help you?
Yeah. Poof.
Are they more weed wizard or weed jester?
Sunday at Bonnaroo dragging you down.
Yeah.
Call the weed wizard.
Yeah.
It is I, weed wizard. I'm putting a voice on him. I don't know. Is that what he sounds
Is that
like?
what weed wizards sound like?
Weed wizard.
I don't know.
This is definitely a commercial for music firsthand.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, cool. That's probably a good place to stop. What should people know about music firsthand, Chris? Where can we find it? Facebook, right?
Thanks. Yeah. Yep. So we are on Facebook, primarily Facebook, Instagram, a little bit of Twitter. I'm kind of debating whether just to get off that platform. By the way, I just think it's just a
burn
it's a
Twitter.
frustrating. Yeah.
Twitter
it's
burn.
a
I've always been anti. I have a Twitter. I have made like 2 tweets ever.
yeah. It's for like drunk or angry people standing on a street corner yelling. It's like I don't get it. But you know, we're still giving that a try. But we do like Instagram and Facebook's getting more frustrating. I worked for MySpace for a while, and
Right.
when I look at it, like Facebook is like cluttered mess, like MySpace eventually was.
Done.
Yeah, so I just predicted it here. But I did like the people at MySpace. But then we're also at musicfirsthand.live is the website. And today it's just basically a site where you can, if you want to get access to the private beta, the app, which will be out here in the next couple weeks. You just sign up there on the mailing list, and then we should be able to get you on the private beta. And that's the primary places you can find us now.
So did somebody scream outside?
Yeah.
Someone did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Should we
we
check
have
It is
to
Halloween
go.
tomorrow.
The murders have started.
Yeah. Oh, one Polaroid is falling. Slowly falling.
You have that lipstick? I can cross them off on the
Yeah,
Polaroid.
yeah. And Fair City Fire guys, you just had a big meeting before this podcast
Big
about the
meeting.
plans. There's a lot
Huge
coming
meeting.
up. We won't spoil it now. Why tell everybody
Believe
what
me.
you're gonna do? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
just be on the
sounds
lookout.
like
Yeah, what's next?
Things are
Some-
happening.
sounds like music and tours, like normal band
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
might
Both
be
of
happening.
those things
Yeah.
may or may not be happening
Staying
in a
active.
soon or far time.
Yeah.
You should just wait and keep listening to the stuff that's out there.
Thanks, Sarah Huckabee.
Yeah. Come see us play.
Curiosity is the biggest marketing tool.
Oh my gosh.
That's good.
You have to keep checking back.
Yeah.
I won't tell you.
Curious with Clint. There it is.
I'm trying to get my own segment, but Joe's just
Oh, you already got one.
You already got
crushed
one.
it.
Yeah,
now
But
you
I'm
got-
not
you
here
just-
for
You
it.
can't be here for
What
it.
kind of segment is that?
The best one.
All right, now Clint will go and we'll do the real podcast. All right, see you later, Clint.
Goodbye, Clint.
All right.
Good
thanks.
day, sir.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for
Music
having me on.
Firsthand Live.
Rap or something.
Keep following it.
Yeah, please.
Hire bands. See live
Yes.
music.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
nothing else, don't even worry about the app. Just please go see live music. And please always give money to the donation jar. And give a donation, not a tip. Give a donation. Like $10, $15, $20. I know you can afford it. Please. That keeps these bands going. And if you can't really afford that and you really are out of work and you don't have a job, at least go up and say hi to the band afterwards and tell them they're great and give them a like and share online.
Yeah.
And then if all that works out, then check out Music Firsthand.
Yeah.
There
Definitely.
you go.
Yeah. And if
Marching
you're an
orders.
artist, man, check it out.
Yeah, if you're
You
an
can,
artist and if you're a host, if you want to host music, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Host or perform.
Yeah, if you want to
Yep.
host or perform, check it
If
out.
you want to make money with good people and there's no like secret fees or hidden fees,
Nope.
it's a really great tool to use.
Yep.
Yeah.
No artist has given us. They haven't given us a dime. Yep.
Yeah.
Check it.
Do it.
Cool.
Hey, after we're done, you guys should give Chris a dime.
I was just, that was something.
So you can't say that anymore.
Damn you!
All right, thanks.
Where's that
Kris.
weed
I don't-
wizard?
I don't think I can afford that. I don't think I can afford that.
Thanks.
Later.